Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another installment of Out in the Woods. This is your friendly neighborhood reptilian overlord, Jacob. Um, and I'm so pleased to have a duo here. I was just telling them one-on-one interviews are always fun, but three's company too, or a crowd, or however that old saying goes. Either way, it was invented by heteros, so therefore it is irrelevant here out in the woods. This time I have a sibling duo. They're dangerous. Let me just go ahead and introduce you both. Hello, Jennifer. Hello, Jonathan. Welcome out in the woods. How are y'all doing today?
Wow. I'm so happy to be here in the woods with you. It's warmer than I expected.
Mm. Well, it's much warmer than last week, that's for sure.
I'm just chilling in the woods, having a hell of a great time.
That's right. That's right. I will cash out both of you the $20 I promised as soon as the recording is done. So yeah, Jennifer, Jonathan, introduce yourselves to my audience. Where are you guys from? Where are y'all now? And what do y'all do?
Born and raised in Mississippi, but our family is from Puerto Rico. Or at least I was born and raised in Mississippi, and lived there for a while, and then decided to move over to Atlanta at the good old age of 24, which was I moved there about 6 months ago now. Half a year, crazy.
Hello, audience. My name is Jennifer, and I am Jonathan's older sister. I am 4 years older than him, ripe old age of 28. I'm originally from Puerto Rico, and I was mostly raised in Mississippi. I spent some time in Puerto Rico as well. Sorry, Puerto Rico as well. And yeah, I'm a working actor in Orlando, Florida, and I went to college with Jacob. So
Yes, and
fun fact.
Jonathan did too. Jen introduced me to Jonathan when he started coming to college. She was like, "This is my little brother. Take care of him. Take him under your wing." Um, and yeah, I kind of did, but Jonathan was doing his own thing. He didn't need any help. He did not, or at least he was very convincing that he didn't. So, um, also this is Jen, your pronunciation of Puer, Puerto Rico. I you know
Puerto Rico.
you are the first really close Puerto Rican friend that I've ever had, and it is so I judge myself so harshly on the inside every time I say Puerto Rico because
Mhm.
I feel like I am mispronouncing it. I know that I guess it's a colloquialism, but every time I say Puerto Rico, I'm like, I feel like inside you're just rolling your eyes at me.
It's kind of something that we're used to. Okay, because originally, I mean, Puerto Rico means rich port. And so when it was colonized, in English, it would be Porto, Porto, Puerto
Hmm.
Rico. But yeah, if you want to sound a little, I mean, you don't have to get all fancy, Jacob, and say Puerto Rico, but you can say Puerto Rico. It's
Okay,
close enough.
Puerto Rico. Yeah, that's how I normally try to pronounce it, but every time I also do that, I feel like a performative ally. But you know what? We all have our inner demons that are going to yell at us here in 2021. That's just what's going to happen. We're all just trying to be better folks out here, okay? Um so Jonathan, when
Yes.
did you know that you were different?
Um, Let me think. So it all started back when I was in seventh to eighth grade.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
at that point, friends and everyone else had, they started getting, interests in like girls and stuff. I had no interest in anybody at the time. I was kind of in the mind, whenever I was younger in particular, I was kind of in the mindset of, I mean, like having like a girlfriend would be cool and stuff, but like what happens whenever we graduate? So I'd rather just hold up on that. And that was true, but I guess at that point I hadn't really thought of, oh, it's because I'm a raging homosexual or anything like that, but it was the truth. I really had no interest in any relationships. And then later on is whenever I realized, oh, I have no interest in relationships right now, and no interest in girls. Damn, that kind of thing.
It was two symptoms of homosexuality. On one hand, you were very studious and intelligent, and then on the other hand, your pee was guided by the men's. So it was a twofer there.
Yeah.
Since we have a third here now, Jen, when did you know that Jonathan was different, or when did you have an inkling? Did you ever?
Not really. Jonathan I just always thought he was, I mean, that is his personality. He was just kind of shy and just kept to himself and didn't like, I don't know, the conversation of having crushes or anything didn't really come up. I honestly thought, and Jonathan knows this, I always thought, I was like, maybe he's asexual. Before I really knew what the term asexual meant, I just knew that, like, when I thought of people who didn't really have a relation, like Whoopi Goldberg, right? I was just like,
yeah.
you know how Whoopi has an energy about her, and you're just like, when you grow up, you're like, oh, I don't see Whoopi with a husband or a wife. I just see Whoopi being Whoopi. I thought Jonathan was my Whoopi Goldberg. So I was just like, oh, he just doesn't seem to be, interested in people. But Jonathan came out to me. I forgot what year it was. Was it 2015? 2015
No.
or the end of 2014? Whenever Into the Woods came out in theaters.
It was end of 2014, I want to say, because you were around the second group of people I told.
I think it was, because I think Into the Woods was like the Christmas movie of 2014. Like they released it on Christmas Day.
That sounds right.
Yeah, and I was about to, like, I was literally packing to go on my first professional theater contract and to be gone for months. And the night before, I'm packing my stuff, and then Jonathan knocks on the door. He comes in. It was after we watched the movie. And he's like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. What's up? Jonathan, please correct me. Like, I don't remember the exact wording you used, but that's when he, like, came out. And then I was like, oh, cool. And then I was just like, yes, I have a gay brother. Because, like, I was raised by the queer community in many ways. And so I felt prepared to foster a younger brother who was gay. I felt like a parent as well. I was like, oh, great. I know a lot about, not being gay, but I have so many resources that I could reach out to for any questions that he may have, any experiences and all that. So that's the first hat that I put on. I was like, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, cool, great, supportive. And then I was like, okay, let's get down to the nitty gritty. Which one of the princes in Into the Woods do you prefer?
Obviously.
And he was like, oh, the Chris Pine prince. And I was like, good, we like the same types of princes. So, like, and then it just wasn't a big deal from then on. But it was a secret in a way, because my family and I were going through the death, or not the death yet, but, like, I think our grandpa was really sick at that point, right, John?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, he was really sick. At that point, he was really sick. And all of the focus was on him and taking care of him. So Jonathan didn't really want to pull focus from that, be like, hey, I know grandpa's doing really bad right now, but I just want all of you to know that I'm gay.
Yeah.
So we held off on that, and then
so in my family in particular, I'm kind of notorious for coming out at actually the worst possible moments.
3 ways.
So I remember, and I remember I came out to my mom on the car ride home after something, and we got some McDonald's sitting in the passenger seat, and I just kind of told her, because, like, it's not the fact that I felt that it was the right time, it's the fact that I just really wanted to tell her. And it just came to my mind, and I did. And she almost swerved off the road, and I was like, you want to pull over so I can drive home? And she's like, no, I'm fine. and my dad was a bit more challenging on that one.
That was
That
definitely planned.
That
was
one
a
was years
team
later.
effort.
Yeah.
It's a team effort.
That one was years later on the way home from the gym with him. And I remember I decided to do it one day.
Did we just keep it a secret for it wasn't years. It was like 2 years.
It was years. It was like after college.
No.
Yes, it was like 2018 or something like that.
Damn.
Was it? Wait a minute. I'm so sorry.
I don't know, man. It was
Hold on.
I really.
It was 2017, Jonathan. I think it was 2017.
But either way, it was years later. Long time to me, at least. So I needed the time.
Because Grandpa died before the Trump administration. That's how I mark my life. Before and after Trump.
I was just gonna say I totally relate on wanting to come out and choosing not to because of the worst times, because literally I was like right on the verge of coming out to both of my parents, and then all of a sudden my grandmother died, and I was just like, fuck. Like
Jonathan too, I think.
So I had to wait I waited like 2 years after my grandmother died before I came out, because I was like, I don't think they're ready yet. I don't think they're ready yet. But the real question is anyone really ready for their kid to come out? And is anybody really ready to just pull off that Band-Aid?
It's kind of tough no matter how you pull it, really.
I was really proud of how our dad handled it, though.
Oh yeah, he walked in and he just kind of like made faces and like pointed at them. He was like, I see you two are keeping secrets and stuff like that. And we had a big group hug and everything.
Aww.
It was honestly we were all scared shitless, not because we thought he was going to reject Jonathan or act any type of way, but it was just like he was just a wild card. It was just like, how is this gonna go down? It was actually quite a hallmark moment. I was really proud. It was the first time that we actually stood in the living room, all of us at the same time, and like talked about our feelings. Like we never do that.
Oh, I'm just so full of envy.
I mean, it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
You come on my show. No, I'm just
kidding. You come on my show.
I invite you here. So let's move on now that I'm just green with envy. Jonathan, where do you fall on the queer spectrum?
I would just call myself, I guess, just gay. Identify as male, and I want males. Pretty much it.
Okay. I was just gonna say, there's nothing wrong with that. I just, sometimes you never know what someone's gonna say. Once again, it's 2021, and someone who you just assume is like gay, could also be gender fluid, non-binary, so I always like asking, just, in case. You never want to make assumptions about people, I guess.
Always good.
So here's the thing, y'all. If y'all press that little 30-second skip button a bunch and you miss the fact that Jonathan and Jeniffer are both Puerto Rican, then you won't understand why I'm asking this question, but I'm asking this question. So, how does the Latinx community generally treat LGBT issues? And is it any different in Puerto Rican culture?
Yeah. I can only speak in general. Like, I follow a couple of Facebook pages that that talk about, any LGBT legislation that's happening. I mean, we're the US colony. So not everything is exactly the same, but culture is something that is shared as well. Can I just say something? So my family is way gayer than we gave it credit for. But like, Jonathan's not publicly out to everyone in the family. Is that correct, Jonathan? But also you don't care, like if they find out, they find out. Like it's not.
I mean, I'm kind of, if they find out, they find out. Like if I haven't visited there in so long. If we ever visited there, I'd bring it up at some point. If they just go, oh, what about your girlfriend? I'd be like, no girlfriend, sorry.
Right. Yeah. At least with our family, Jacob, like I found out my aunt was in a relationship with a woman at age, how old were we? We were like, it was with our El Yunque trip. No, wait, I knew before. I don't know. I grew up like 10 years old, like, visiting my aunt, and then sitting on the toilet and seeing like this abstract art with two women in it. And I was like, huh, interesting. And then later on, I was like, hey, Mom, are they like roommates from college? Why do I call both of them Titi, which is auntie? And she's like, oh, well, you know how men and women are in relationships? I'm like, yeah, that's them. And I was like, oh, okay. And so that's that. I don't know. Like our family, and we have more LGBT members in our extended family. And it's just kind of like, it is what it is. If you don't like it, people pretty much keep it to themselves. But it's like, I don't know. It's very hush hush. But what have you garnered, Jonathan?
So I was brain dead and just never pieced that together somehow whenever I was younger. I don't know if I was explicitly told or if I just kind of figured it out for myself. I don't know when that would have happened, but I don't know. Yeah, I'd say they're pretty friendly on it. I guess all I can think of is maybe like one aunt who is like particularly religious, like very heavily religious, and maybe she'd have a problem with it. I don't know. I don't really know too much myself about it, but honestly, they most of them, like a grand majority of them, seem like the type to be like, oh, good on you.
But in general, in like Puerto Rican culture, I mean, just like here, the queer community is like, the foundation is Black and people of color. We do have a problem on the island right now that our trans folks are just like we have hate crimes here. It's a really big problem. Bad Bunny made a statement using his platform about the murders of these women. Yeah, so obviously we still have a long way to go. There's as much acceptance as there is. There's a dark underbelly. We still got a long way to go.
Well, it's really eye-opening when you consider how much of a worldwide scourge violence against trans women, and specifically trans women of color, really is. I mean, it's a worldwide issue. Even though, once again, if you go back to the Stonewall riots and really the beginning of the queer liberation movement, I like to call it, because gay,
Yes,
it was very gay centric, but it was led by people who were not gay, they were queer. Sylvia Rivera, she was a Latinx trans woman. And she was right there at the front lines. Her and Marsha P. Johnson were both intrinsic to where we are now. So it's, I don't know, it's just big questions in my brain about why things kind of are the way they are, and why, even to this day, certain people don't get the credit and recognition that they deserve, and the treatment that they deserve, I suppose. I don't know. It's crazy. So is there an intersectionality of sorts between Latinx beliefs and the Bible Belt community?
I guess they are pretty similar in some aspects, like, just the usual, like, kind of God-fearing kind of thing. Like in my immediate family, like, my parents and my sister and I, we're pretty isolated from the other bits of our family. We get in contact with each other, but it's not like a lot of people here in the South where you go, oh, I'm gonna go visit my cousin, he lives like 30 minutes down the road from me. We go, oh, we're gonna visit our cousin for the first time in 4 years, that kind of thing. Where So like our kind of connection on what exactly their values are can be kind of iffy at times.
Mhm.
I'm mostly told that she is super religious. I guess like my grandparents and like one of my grandmas, she was pretty religious. I don't know if she's as religious now. Not super contact with her, but I mean, if I were to say something, it's a lot more of a kind of respectful kind of religion than it and like a more very personal, like a very personal like relationship with God kind of stuff instead of a group we together kind of thing. You know what I mean? And I feel like Bible Belt's a lot more we, like, you know, all together kind of thing. It seems to me, at least from what I see, and yeah, I'd say that's the kind of like differential thing. I guess like some values are still the same, like, you know, family, you know, going to church, that other kind of stuff. I think is, you know, where the similarities lie, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Catholicism is I was about to say it's all about shame. But that's my experience with Catholicism is just shame in literally doing anything, feeling any kind of pleasure in any way. I mean, I was the one that made my family go to church when I was younger, all because like I don't know, it was from a place of fear. And yeah, like Jonathan says, like your relationship with God, with spirit, with whoever should be from a place of relationship.
So
But yeah,
so do both of you still have a spiritual inkling in your bodies? Do y'all have like a relationship with God, or would y'all call yourselves religious?
I
not
personally
religious.
I personally wouldn't really call myself very religious. I really respect what religion can make a person do in a very positive sense. That's the kind of religion I really respect. Like I remember like a one quote that really stood out to me is like, "Oh, blessed are we to be a blessing to others." And it's like I really like that because that's, you know, that's all about, you know, the other people and stuff. But I'm not really I don't really agree with the whole do X or you're going straight to hell there, kiddo. Because I guess hell, like I'd say a thing that damaged me more than I shouldn't say that it damaged me, but like me being gay was a lot less strenuous in my mind when I was younger than me thinking, oh, there I go, there I go masturbating again. I'm going to go straight to hell if I don't go to that did gave me more mental anguish than being gay was, ironically enough.
Oh
Get out.
my
Get
God.
out. That's so funny. I didn't know that.
Well, you know, and it's one of those things, I don't know if y'all ever experienced this when y'all went to church, but I mentioned it way back in one of my episodes, but you know, we had end times preachers that would sometimes come and visit. And I remember being in like the 4th grade whenever I found out that like there was an apocalypse impending, according to the Bible, you know, where Jesus was going to come back and all the sinners were going to be left behind to like perish in this horrible earth that gets, you know, like destroyed by the Antichrist. And yeah, Jonathan, especially when I got into my teenage years, I was like, don't touch that penis, otherwise you're going to get left behind, you know, like um stay away from X and XX, Jacob. You do not want to face the wrath of God. um
I was always afraid that the second coming of Christ was going to happen when I was taking a shower. I'm like, how embarrassing that I'm taking a shower. How embarrassing that I don't even get a second, a second to prepare because they're like, you know not the hour. And I'm like, oh, I have to know.
No, I mean it was legitimately terrifying. Like I remember like sometimes I'd be in the back seat driving down the highway and I was like, what if my parents get raptured and I don't, and the car careens off of this bridge, like, you know, like, but I deserve it because I jerked it last night. So yeah, we I think we were all just I guess we were all just really horny. So let's see. So, have either of you faced adversity for being who you are?
I am so lucky to say no, like actually not ever. like I would say like I never really I guess like the literal only bit of bullying that I could ever remember was like stupid kindergarten shit. Like, haha, you're short. That's about it. And of course, my parents made a big deal about it. They still remember the names of those kids. And then if I even mentioned their names in high school, we went, "Oh, it's those twins again, aren't they?" I'm like, that happened when I was about 3 years old. And I can barely, I remember it, I guess, because you made a huge deal about it.
They were
We will
out for
fight for you.
blood. They were
We
out
will
for
fight for
blood.
you.
But no, I've never been like put down or bullied or anything because of it. Every single one of my friends that I've ever told has been super supportive and everything. So I'm just blessed and lucky.
And
Honestly.
Jonathan has a whole bro group. Like, isn't your close circle of friends like, aren't they just like straight men?
Yes. Basically everyone.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Jacob's like, well, okay, great.
Right. Like, I guess, like I could
Guess
only
you
be
didn't
so
have any
lucky.
problems.
Yeah.
Okay, then let me ask you this, Jonathan. Let's piece things up. Do you think
Ooh.
it's because you don't have the quote unquote stereotypical like outwardly like gay personality or anything like it? Like what when people think of a gay person, they think of this cartoon or like or what do you talk about that? Your experience on that. And also like do you think because you're a little white passing as well?
Maybe. I'm not too sure on that. Perhaps it is. But I don't know.
Interesting.
Maybe it's just because of just how it is. I really cannot comment on it.
Okay,
Perhaps
but
perhaps you are right. But to be fair, I know that my friends, if they were to encounter someone like that, they wouldn't treat them any differently because of it.
I was also gonna say, I think what's just another intrinsic part of who Jonathan is Jonathan is just, from what I have experienced, you're a very unassuming person. You're not, and as a person, you're not trying to like insert yourself into anything. You're very much, an onlooker. You're more definitely, you're quiet and in your head. So you also just don't draw attention to yourself in general. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess that helps, keep the target off. Whereas, me, I was came out of the womb covered in glitter. So um Jen, question for you then. Have you faced any adversity just for being brown?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I kind of don't really focus on those. Like, you know what I'm really good at, Jacob? I'm really good at taking experiences and then my brain kind of deletes them. I don't know if that's a trauma response. But yeah, I can think of, in general, like, speaking Spanish in the store and dirty looks, especially like in South Mississippi. And I don't know. No one's ever was just like, I don't like you because you're Puerto Rican. There was never that. The South is very subtle,
Mm.
you know?
Sometimes, sometimes I know
Yeah.
we've all seen those horrific videos on Facebook of that old country woman screaming at a Latina lady to speak
Ah,
English in America,
I have not had the blessing in my life to have someone like that say something like that to me, because I promise you I have been training for that moment all my life. It's just like, oh please, I dare you. I dare you to say something. But
Were the past
Jake, I probably have Jacob and I just like blocked out.
well, everyone should know that Jen is actually a Scientologist, and she actually used the sort of Xenu. I don't remember what they call it. But she used that little machine where they like hold on to the thing and delete the memory from her brain. So she's good. She's good. She's faced quite a lot of racism actually. She paid them at least $10,000 so far. No, but
Oh,
I
okay. So it's mostly like microaggression stuff, like things that people would be like, well, that wasn't racist. That was just like a joke. It's like, okay, but it's not funny, and I'm telling you that it's not funny, and you
mhm,
need to listen to me.
mhm.
You know,
Um
like
I
yeah.
was just gonna say, how have the past? I mean, everyone. I think all everyone on this show has really not enjoyed the past 4 years. Um, but was there a new a new kind of anxiety that either of you had because of the direction that the last administration took?
Oh yeah. But Jonathan, you wanna talk on that first, or?
Um, I guess maybe because I'm just very pale. I personally didn't have a lot of it. I was more afraid for like my family, if case everything's ever got to that point.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think they would. Maybe it's just because of the people that I was around. I had a lot more faith in the people for the like the strangers around me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, if the people I know are like this, maybe those people aren't as well. Of course, there's crazies everywhere, and of course there could be some crazies that would do something like that. But I didn't. I I'd never like gone out to the store or something like that, and like or like been around somebody at like passing by them at like 8 o'clock at night, and I never thought that maybe they might come and get me. But that of course it's my experience with it,
Mm-hmm.
which may
Yeah.
not be the experience that others might have.
Wow, such a mature response. No, I'm not being sarcastic. Like it's real. Listeners, that was me. Oh my god. Okay. Um, just because Biden is, we need to hold this administration accountable and make sure that they're delivering. And I don't know. I still don't trust old white men in power. And I will. No, we need to burn it all down and start over.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
on that note, we're gonna go on break. But before we do, let me just say, Joe Biden, fuck you for promising to forgive student loan debt and then just outright saying that you're not gonna do it. Go fuck yourself, old man. Welcome back. Well, I was gonna do, my normal welcome back intro. I'm here with Jen and Jonathan, and Jen was just, she just had some tongue action going just now.
I had to stretch my face, man.
You know, stretch your face for talking, sure. Oh, okay, okay. And then Jonathan's got a good yawn going here. We're all vibing. That's what we're doing. We're vibing here out in the woods. Um, so let's hop right back into it. So I'm curious, what were some experiences and or memories that y'all had together in the past that are even better after you realized you were gay the whole time? And this is
Oh,
prompted, I just want to let you know, Jonathan, that this is prompted. There's an app called House Party that I frequently use. And Jen and I were talking on House Party a couple of nights ago, and there was this one aspect of your childhoods that she brought up where I was like, wow, I would be extra gay myself if I got to see all of that. Um, so let's discuss.
So very often, especially on weekends, we would just like vibe on the couch and like just
Mm,
vibe in the living room on like the big screen watching tons of things.
mhm,
But I think watching Rent, because
mm,
that was my very first exposure to that kind of culture.
mhm.
And watching Rent, I don't remember how old I was. I was younger, but I remember watching Rent and stuff. I was just like, because at that point I didn't know if I was gay at that point. Honestly, I didn't really have interest in anybody still at that time. I remember watching that, I was going, interesting. And I look back on it now and I'm just like, yeah, it definitely was, huh?
gay. That's really cute that Angel and Collins was your first like little taste of gay representation in entertainment, I guess, right? Oh, outwardly, like
Right.
they kissed.
I was gonna say on that note, I think like I think specifically the first gay exposure that I ever had was actually weirdly Mrs. Doubtfire, because specifically
Right.
because Harvey Firestein plays Robin Williams' brother, who makes the Mrs. Doubtfire costume for him and everything. And um he's gay, and I don't remember what the exact quote is, but it's two men, and they're like, and he was like, yeah, your uncle Tim made this, and your aunt Clyde helped, or something like that. And I just, as a child, I was like, what? Like,
Huh?
I was
I'm
like,
trying to think.
that's normal.
Actually, right? I think for me, I like looking back, Timon. Maybe it's because he was voiced by Nathan Lane. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. It's just like, yeah, Timon said gay rights.
Mm.
Also, Shigo. I can't think of anybody off the top of my
Ooh,
head.
Shigo.
But
Oh, well,
yeah.
I mean, him from the Powerpuff Girls.
Him. Yes. And we just accepted it. We were just like, oh, let's go.
No, 100%. I don't know, I never really called it into question. I was just like, yeah, that
Yeah.
that's what it is.
That's
Lobster hands. Lobster hands.
Mhm. But I think, Jonathan, what Jacob
I was trying
meant.
to pull this out of you, Jonathan, but it would appear that you were not ready for it.
I think I know exactly what you're saying, but go on.
I think he's talking about how our father, as a hobby, he was a bodybuilder.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
Therefore,
Oh yeah,
therefore, we go to these competitions where these men are
yeah,
scantily clad in speedos and oiled up with their
yeah.
rippling muscles on stage, and we're just applauding them. We are 5, we are 10, it's been in our family for as long as we can remember, and we're just there like, woo, like, go dad, flex those muscles, be better than the other guy next to you. Looking back now, I'm just like, oh wait, like, that was
That
very
definitely sealed the deal for sure, without a shadow of a doubt.
and
Father,
Without
look
a
what you
shadow of a doubt.
created.
and yet again, I just wish that I could have been the third sibling, I would actually be perfectly in the middle between, well, yeah, I would be the middle sibling, and I would get to experience all of the things that I wish that I could have experienced. I remember one time my mom's coworker, I went to work with my mom for something because she had to pick something up, and her coworker was telling me the story that she thought was gonna make me laugh, which, I mean, I laughed, but I'm like 13, and she was talking about how her husband was an amateur bodybuilder, and he went to this one competition, and she was just laughing because there was this one guy whose dick was too big for his posers, and it fell out in the middle of him flexing. And she was just like, isn't that so funny? I mean, he just had to laugh. And I was like, yeah,
You're
I
like,
just
yeah, that's
really funny.
really, really funny. But honestly, I mean, now that I'm a little older, I'm like, well, it doesn't take I mean, it could still be average and fall out of the posers, because those posers are tiny. Those
They're
posers
tiny.
that they make the bodybuilders wear are super tiny.
That's classic bodybuilding. Now, I think they have a choice. Like, young men now, or they have like the swim trunk, like to the knees type of thing.
How
I don't.
disappointing.
They still do the Speedo thing. They still do that.
Oh yeah.
That's a whole different like section now. Like, you wouldn't compete alongside the Speedo people with like the swim trunk short thing. You wouldn't be like compared to each other. That's like a whole different like subset of it.
I don't know. I never. I mean, I was too young, so I never looked at these men and was like, hubba hubba. I was just like, oh, this is dad's hobby. Like,
What's
this
so
is like golfing.
interesting? Right. It's just like, why am I sitting here? I don't care what they're doing with their arms. Whatever. They're
It's
just
like our
standing
version
there.
of drag.
God, she's kind of right.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Also, sidebar, audience, Jen and Jonathan's dad, yeah, he's pretty cute. I'm not gonna lie. He's
It has been said that he is a daddy.
I was gonna say, after all of these years, their dad has still maintained quite the physique. So he's doing great for himself. And honestly, I just hope that I continue my weight loss journey and start a fitness journey where I can look as good as their father when I'm his age. I
Boy, you don't want to
never
go on that journey.
will. I
You don't want
never
to go on
will.
that journey, man.
Um, so moving right along, now that I've objectified your father.
Ah,
Um
would be the first time.
so Jonathan, you and I have connected over this. You are into all things nerdy. Um, and that's strangely nerdy things are a part of queer culture. Uh, let's discuss nerd culture in the queer community. Um, so you go first. I'll let you start. What are some of your nerdy interests?
All right, so I got a lot of these. Okay, so video games definitely a big one of it. And like tabletop role playing games like
Mm-hmm.
Dungeons and Dragons. I dabble a little bit in like miniature kind of games like Warhammer and stuff like that. But Dungeons and Dragons and kind of anime, but all these things kind of go hand in hand with each other. Like they definitely flow into each other. I'd say that nerdy gamer people, how do I put this? So out of like any fandom, they're very, very rabid at times. And they're very dedicated and they're very engaged. I had the word of it earlier. I might come up with it again, but they feel a lot for this specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like anything, and like any person, if you feel a lot about a specific thing and you see anything in it that you don't like, they'll speak out on it. Of course, it's way easier to be super negative on something than it is to be positive for it.
Mm-hmm.
Hence all like the crazy gamer stuff of like, oh, they harassed this person, or like, oh, X character added his gay, people complain about it, saying
Mm-hmm.
about forcing them into my video games and all that stuff. I would say that, yeah, there's a lot of that negativity for sure, but I would say it's mostly just that crowd. I'd say it's that crowd that's just really, really loud, because it's hard. It's not hard, but it's way easier to be loud and get noticed about all this negative stuff than it is to be loud and be positive. Because if someone's positive about it, you go, oh, nice, that's really great. I'm glad they're on that. But if they're really, really negative about it, especially on the internet, the easiest way to do it, Twitter or whatever, you can
Right.
be negative as hell. It's supremely easy, and everybody will notice. And of course, they'll go, well, these people are really bad. That means they're all bad, kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that group is not big. It's pretty big, but I'm not saying it's not the whole deal of it. They're very passionate is the word. And if they're passionate about it, then that means that if they're passionately negative, they'll be loud and they'll be kind of the worst about it. But I mean, again, this is from my own personal experiences. All the people I've met, all the people I've played with, maybe it's just me and my bubble. Maybe my bubble, I guess, happened to be so lucky to get all the great people. Everybody I've played with, I have played with the guild in World of Warcraft. We raid on Tuesdays, Thursdays. Like 24 nerds coming together after work, trying to kill raid bosses and stuff, just shooting the shit with each other. That's been a super positive thing. And I haven't even, and I mean, like everybody talks about, like, everybody makes like offhanded comments of how attractive like a raid boss might be, and I go, yeah, he is for sure. And nobody goes, I can't believe this gay's here in my video game or whatever like that. But I mean, I'd say that for all the bad they do, there's a lot of good, a lot of good that gamers can do. outside of that. The tabletop community is kind of similar, but definitely, definitely not as loud. And it's a lot, I'd say it's smaller, of course, but I'd say they're about as positive. So, not a super, I guess, noticeable thing.
Well,
I'd say.
I was gonna say, you're kind of bringing up like negativity. I guess a lot of people in certain fandoms and such kind of putting their head in the sand, as it were, and being very staunch and shitty about like a big thing, for instance, in Star Wars, whenever Rose Tico was inserted into The Last Jedi, and people were lauding Disney for hiring an Asian American actress to play a major role in a Star Wars film. There were a lot of nerds who were just really fucking pissed. They were just already, before they had even seen the movie. I mean, even though like her character was really useless and like her character like served no purpose. But anyway, it has no. But the thing was, they weren't going after Rose Tico, the character who was poorly written. They were going after Kelly Marie Tran just for existing and being Asian. But that is not actually what I came here to talk about with that question. I actually a great majority of the nerdiest nerds that I know are gay men.
Yep.
I was gonna say, like, I'm very much a casual gamer, but I have good friends, like you, Jonathan, that they they just start talking about they go on these threads about these different things, and they're very, very committed to all of these different games, no matter what genre they may be. And I I don't know, especially like weirdly enough, in like specifically in the gay bear community, there are a lot, like the bear cub, otter, whatever, the hairy men community. There are there are quite a lot of gamers, as it were, GAY-mers.
Stop.
And shut up, Jen, shut up. No,
The word's beyond common to get this. She's just not in the know. It's okay.
she's not, and it's
Wait,
fine.
what? What'd you say about me?
I said that word is beyond common. She's just not in the know.
Right, exactly.
I said, you know what? I'm gonna shut up.
Bright suns, Jen. Bright suns. Uh, but no, it's I think the reason that a lot of gay men are into nerd culture is because of the escapism, that whether it be getting to play a different role in a world where you get to be the hero or villain of your world, or getting to identify with different characters in a movie and feeling a different sense of heroism, without necessarily having to have gay representation. I feel like gay people are drawn to a fantasy world that's outside of the kind of discrimination and or even potential discrimination that we face every day in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I think wasn't X-Men made with that in mind?
X-Men specifically was made during the civil rights movement, and so as time has gone on, yes, the mutants in X-Men are there to kind of represent each different phase of people who are just oppressed, minorities in general. So yeah,
Yeah, they're just like the other, pretty much. That's
Yeah.
always what they've been.
yeah.
And it could be kind of anybody, really, or anything. One that's not, I guess the main one, I should say.
So Jonathan, I was gonna say, as far as my nerd genre goes, I'm more of science fiction. My big fandoms are Star Wars, which I know is a space opera. and then of course Jurassic Park. I really enjoyed watching Westworld on HBO. I still need to watch season 3. I know it's been a couple of years, but fuck it, I have other TV. But what would you say your big nerdy genres are?
Uh, Definitely my biggest one is easily fantasy.
Mhm.
I've always just been drawn to it, like sword and sorcery, heroes and monsters, that kind of thing. I guess like sci-fi is kind of the same deal, especially since a lot of times it could be some like sci-fi fantasy overlap.
Mhm.
So like I guess I'm not like super into like the hard sci-fi. Like I've never been like into like something like Star Trek or something. But
Mhm.
of course I would always be, into like other kind of like sci-fi movies, like, Alien,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Um, but yeah, fantasy is definitely the biggest one. Like I'm so into it that I even want to write a book one day, in a fantasy book one day, and I think I'd be good at it because I don't know, I've always just wanted to get my ideas out there. And even funnily enough, I wanted the book to have a gay protagonist in it as well, and
Mm.
even like the other like deuteragonist, they would be it wouldn't be this focal point of the story, the fact of him being gay, and the relationship and stuff. But I just wanted to write a good fantasy story, and the protagonist is also gay. That's because it's just something I wanted to do, because I kind of looked and I was like, there's not really much of that. And I was like,
Mhm.
it'd be really cool to have that out there one day, and just doing that would be enough to make you stand out. And and maybe I'm not having delusions of grandeur or anything, but like, oh, if it ever got big one day, maybe I'd pave the way for more. Who knows, kind of thing.
Well, no, that's incredible. And you know, the thing is, I think that to make a gay character realistic, you kind of wouldn't want, especially within the confines of a fantasy series, you wouldn't necessarily want their sexuality to be the focal point. Just like, we don't make straight character sexuality the focal point of their whole story within a confined space. Um, but you know, at the same time, the worst part is, Jonathan, you could make it as subtle as you wanted to, and I know that there's still going to be people out there that are going to be like, this story is just too fucking gay. Like, oh my god, he has like, he mentioned that he has a husband. My kid cannot read this. They're going to be talking about it in the pulpit on Sunday. No,
Whatever. Some cishet men think that touching your balls while you're washing the shower makes you gay. So,
or wiping, I've found out that there are some cis het men that think wiping your ass is gay. So
oh
I've
my
heard I've heard
god.
I've heard a story of that. A friend of mine, she knew someone who is actually like that. But like at that point, I'm just like, dude, that's not even
Yikes.
like homophobia. That's just like trauma from something. That has to be.
Jeez.
yeah, I was
So
also
I
gonna
feel
say
more pity than like, you dummy. I feel like genuine pity at that. Then
no, because they're
Whew.
gonna die. They're probably gonna get some awful ass infection. It's yeah, we're not going to go into those details, but is there anything else about your book that you would like to share with my audience? I'm legitimately interested.
um, other than the fact that I want to write it, I just wanted to make my own story, and put some stuff of my own things in it. I guess like and like the relationship is a big part of the story. It's it's crucial to the characters, character development. Is this relationship with this other dude is what changes him, and puts him on a different path and everything else. And I just wanted it to be a gay relationship this time. There's been plenty of those for straight relationships. Why not
Right.
make a gay one? And I guess that if you ever have an idea like that, you should go for it. I mean, I'm I'm on the way. I'm slowly chipping away at it. But Jeniffer, she's definitely she's definitely helping me on that for sure. We just had like a little book meeting, and she just started grilling me on everything, and she was like, all right, condense your whole story down to 2 minutes. And I did it, and I was like, oh, barely made it. And she's like, all righty, bring it down to a minute and just tell it to me straight. I'm like, okay, here it is in a minute. I was really close. And she's like, okay, one more time, 30 seconds, give me a pitch. It's like
at that point, Jennifer was just trying to ruin her brother's dreams and hopes.
No, and
and
don't.
then she went one more time. Give it to me in a sentence. And I'm like, this swear to God.
Jen's like, I'm the only talented one in this family.
No,
Stop.
she's like, you're going through the gauntlet and you're going to be coming out stronger because of it. And I'm like, yes.
Honestly. And may I say, don't say that yes, you may be chipping away at it. Don't say that you want to write it, because you are writing it. You showed me a whole bunch. We basically, we had like a meeting last night, and like we just talked about it, and he had like character breakdowns and like inspirational imagery and all that kind of stuff. So like, you're writing it. You're a writer. If you're writing it, you're a writer. So
yeah, I was gonna say, like, the last word on that is that, like, I just greatly look forward to reading it when you are done writing it, because I believe that you will write it and get it published. So there you go.
Thank you.
And if you ever need, a critical voice on your first draft, I'm right here. And also, if you get tired of just writing a straightforward fantasy story and you want to condense it down to something shorter just to get it published and start making money, turn it into some gay smut, some gay fantasy smut.
All right,
oh my
listen.
God, Jonathan, that could be some good side money.
Okay, so like, you have no idea the amount of shit you can get away with on Patreon. Yikes. The stuff you've seen, it's like, dude, you're making thousands of dollars doing what?
Jonathan, wait,
Right there.
Jacob's onto something. What if you oh my God, what if you make a Patreon or whatever, and I don't know, you kind of raise money, and then you're like, yeah, this is going for, publishing my book or whatever. Here's some homoerotica stories. There you go. Have fun.
No,
Hey.
I don't know if I want to tarnish myself like that.
Use a different name.
I think most people who write smut and actually write they have their lives divided straight in half. The other half is completely independent of the other.
Well,
just right under
J.K.
Jennifer's
Rowling
name.
No, thank you.
Wow. Just use a lady's name so that people are a little bit more open. Yeah, people like reading lady written smut, apparently. I see it strangely advertised on my Facebook all the time, so I don't know.
God knows how 50 Sage made it onto the shelves, but
what do they know? So yeah, always trust your Capricorn friend when we try to give you business advice. Except for me, because I'm gonna turn you into the most prolific smut writer in the world.
Oh my God,
Jesus.
yes.
God protect me.
So what is the queer landscape like in Atlanta? It's obviously much bigger than it is down here back home.
So, because of current times, I haven't gone out a shitload or a lot, not a huge amount, but definitely like 1,000,000,000% more. Then again, maybe just what I'm seeing is I'll explain. So, when at my job, I have to, obviously, if someone is coming in for the first time, they have to finish their paperwork, and it's stuff like emergency contact, people we should talk to, yada, yada, yada. Very often, basically, at least a couple of times a week, I will see Miss Smith, and I go, all right, typing in all of her stuff, and then it goes, and then for emergency contact information, it's Cheryl Smith, partner, and I'm like, oh, that's nice, and I see that a lot, like a lot. And like usually they don't come in with their partners. They're just kind of by themselves. They kind of walk up and like, hey, checking in or whatever. And I see that a lot. And I find that very comforting, because especially whenever I see like a 60-year-old like gay couple.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'll be that one day. That's nice. It's not like, and it's because you don't really see that. Maybe that's because I wasn't looking at people's paperwork back in Mississippi, but of course here in Atlanta it's night and day. It's way different.
Mm-hmm.
And the mindset, of course, is different as well. Like hell, even like at my job, there's a lot of gay people there for sure. There's a lot of gay people there, people of color. Like half the doctors there are women. Half the doctors there are like women of color.
Yeah.
It's the
Jonathan,
promised land. No,
yeah, the promised
the
land, right?
promised land.
Can I ask you something, Jonathan? Like, oh, sorry. Please continue.
Like one of my favorite doctors, she's like 30 something. So she's like really close to like our age group. And she's Black and she is fantastic. I love her so much. She's just the chillest person out there. Like some of the other doctors, you kind of have to like tiptoe around, be kind of really careful. Cause it's like, oh, if you like ask them something, they're like, cause like usually most of the time, if anything goes wrong, it always goes under the doctor's nose. So they never know. But her, you like say, hey, can we do this? And she's like, yeah, sure. By all means.
It's an ego thing with doctors though, like
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Jonathan,
But
I was
yeah.
oh my god. I'm so sorry.
No, go.
I was gonna ask, like, so I mean, South Mississippi was all you knew. Like, how does it feel like being in Atlanta and just having, just being around queer people or like seeing that's so common down the street? Did that make you realize like I mean, I think we already knew growing up in Mississippi that we were in a bubble, but you don't realize that you're in that tight of a bubble until you leave it. Like when I went to New York City, I was like, oh my God, the world is way bigger than I thought.
Yeah, I kind of felt that, especially because where we were. But yeah, definitely. I feel a lot, not like I felt like, oh, nobody, well, I don't know, maybe I guess they get me a little bit more here, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. I never felt unwelcome back in Mississippi, but I'm not saying they're welcoming me here, but it's just, I don't know, it's just such a different vibe that I just really, really enjoy.
So, Jen, why to you is it so important for people to be vocal allies in the Southern and greater Latinx communities?
I think there's a difference between being an ally and talking for people instead of letting people talk or handing over the microphone, right? I really don't like the whole like giving the voice to the voiceless or trying to be a savior of some sort. It's just like if I have any kind of pull, I will do something with it, and I think it being outspoken about these issues breaks tradition, right? Like for example, even in the smallest ways, like my dad at work, there's a lot of homophobic language in Spanish, so no one really knows what they're saying, but it still matters. And my dad doesn't outwardly have to say like, hey, I have a gay son, don't talk like that. He's just like, hey man, that's not cool. And so it's like, oh well, like, or you get like, no, it's like, no, that's just disrespectful, so don't talk like that. And it just takes one person to and then eventually hopefully vocabulary like that is out of our language and our culture. So that's in that way. And in general with being outspoken, it's just like, how else are we going to break it? If no one's listening to the people who are yelling, then maybe it's the people who are perceived to quote unquote have more power, or like the people that where they're more susceptible to listen to, that they should say something, yeah. And also it just makes fucking sense. Oh, am I allowed to say that on your podcast?
Yeah,
okay.
I've used a slurry of slurs and not slurs.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
It just Oof.
Whoa. A slurry of curses. There we go.
Yeah, it just makes fucking sense, man. Like, if you see something that's terrible, you should say something. You should do something about it. If
Correct.
someone's talking down to somebody at the grocery store and, uh, saying that they should speak a certain language or they should act a certain way, then yeah, you should put yourself in there and be like, what's good? What's up? Maybe not like it to see if that person can probably defend themselves, but it feels good to have someone right there with you.
Oh
If we're talking
yeah,
in fantasy talk, like that's the big old monster, and it's like, of course we're gonna have an army of people.
absolutely.
So that's my 2 cents.
There we go. So my next question is not really a question. It's more of and I'm surprised, you know what? I'm very surprised that we have not brought him up yet. But whenever I thought of this episode, me and Jen have a special connection, Jonathan, and I don't know if you also can have this connection with us. But can we just talk about Walter Mercado for a second?
Jonathan's gonna
Um,
go like, fucking who?
I'm sorry to say that statement is entirely true.
Jonah, look him up on the computer right now, and I
yeah,
assure you, if you see a picture, it'll jog your memory.
What's his
please,
name?
Walter Mercado. And also like there's a whole Netflix documentary, Jonathan and audience, that everyone needs to go watch all about Walter Mercado. It will fill that's really where I discovered Walter Mercado. And I promptly messaged Jen and I was like, Jen, why have I never experienced Walter Mercado before? I mean, first of all, it's because I did not grow up in a Spanish speaking household, but or have Spanish speaking family. But oh my God, what incredible human being.
Yeah, he was maybe he was my first like queer representation that I've seen and not known it, because he was just, so for all of you who don't know, he was like um an astrologist. Wait,
Hmm.
no, is that the right word?
Astrologer.
Astrologer. Like basically he would go on network TV and he would tell you your horoscope, and he would just deliver it in such a theatrical way because he was an actor first, a stage actor first, and he would just have this cape with jewels on it, and his
Hmm.
and his hair was like kind of like grandma meets, I don't know, like this really handsome, man. Like he was just so androgynous in his style,
Yes,
and
yes.
you're just like, huh, okay. And then the fact that like Puerto Rican culture just accepted him. Most people did. Just being like, yeah, there's this man on our TV screens telling me how Pisces season is gonna go. Um, and even the machoiest of macho men like accepted it. It was just part of it, and he impacted so many people, and like he always ended it with mucho amor, which is with blowing kisses at the screen. Yeah, that was a really fuzzy and warm part of my childhood.
Well, and it's incredible. It's an inspiring queer story because, especially once again, if you watch the documentary, little blurb about Walter Mercado's early life was, he basically just grew up on a farm. It was him and his brothers and his, raised by his mother and everything. And he just kind of fell into the theatrics. He became a really I guess known in the area and at the time dancer and actor, stage actor. And then astrology just kind of fell into his wheelhouse, and he just became super theatric and rose up and became a household name in Puerto Rico. And then from Puerto
The
Rico
world.
all around, yeah, I was going to say all around the world in Spanish speaking households, no matter where you were from, no matter what no matter what Spanish speaking culture you were from, you had
And
Walter
Americans
Mercado.
too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Americans too. You may not know that, because like I forgot who they featured on Netflix, but he was like, "All right, time to go to the English speaking shows," and they always asked him, they're like, "Are you gay?" It's like, or what did he say? He said something like, the universe turns me on, or like something. Like he never really wanted to reveal
No.
anything because it was nobody's damn business. Um,
Yes.
but also maybe he was asexual. Maybe he never was seen with a partner, and he died without a publicly known relationship. So
He
who knows?
he but the beautiful thing was he died without a publicly known relationship, but he still died a very happy man. He or y-
Oh,
a very happy person. He because he was just so full of love. I think that, no matter what you believe about astrology or whatever, I think Walter Mercado just made everything that he did magical,
yeah. He combined bits and pieces of like every religion. Like if you went
Yes.
into his house, you could see statues and things of many different religions. I think that's why I relate to him a lot, 'cause I really like studying all of them.
Yes. Um so Jonathan, now that you have Google image searched Walter Mercado, let me hear your impressions.
I can definitely see how he made an impact on all of that. His style is really interesting.
It's really incredible. I honestly, like, I kind of want a Walter Mercado Santeria candle, not gonna lie. I would
I'm
live.
sure they exist.
Oh, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they are somewhere out there. But yeah, no, I saw that and I was like, Jen, why have you been hiding him from me all of this time?
That
Um,
documentary actually like brought him back to me. I was like, okay, yeah, I need to get back into this. And then honestly, that documentary kind of opened me back, or to like study like, all right, what is brujeria in general? What
yes.
is santeria? What is astrology? What is Yoruba? Like all of these different types
Hmm.
of things. Like what's hoodoo? What's voodoo? What's all this? Like I am a sponge. Like I want to know about all of that. And I don't know. It just kind of opened up an avenue of spirituality that I was craving for, because it just brings me back to like the root of stuff. And I'm always in constant search of like, what why are we here? I don't worship anyone, but like who am I in constant connection with? Because I'm talking to somebody.
So, so Jen, I'll just go ahead and give you the answer and we're gonna move on. So we're here to suffer. That's it. All right. So,
Okay, that's what I thought. It
um,
makes total sense.
makes total sense. But yes, everybody go check out Walter Mercado. Go check out the documentary on Netflix, and then just go down a Walter Mercado YouTube rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Love Walter Mercado. If your spirit is here, Walter Mercado, please, thank you for being here. So Jonathan, my last question, as always. So Jonathan, if you could go back in time and give your childhood self any words of comfort or encouragement, what would they be?
You want to be really honest?
Yes.
Jerking it's not going to send you to hell. It's okay.
Oh my God.
That's pretty
But
much it.
but same. Look, no, I only want real answers, and you know, I but going back to that, that was such a fear though. Like that was such, you're like, especially for God, for horny little boys. I mean, I know that boys are not the only ones that touch themselves. Like we're not the only ones that do it. But but you know, when you, puberty is just a time, and whenever you're in like a religious setting like that, my God, it's the worst. It's the absolute worst. So um,
Yeah.
but wouldn't it be awful if at the end of the day, I pass away with a smile on my face and I still do Jonathan, you would join me too. We'd both be sent to hell. And when we're like, why? And God would be like, I'm okay with you being gay, but you touched yourself too much.
That's where I
If
draw the
if
fucking
if
line.
if if that shit happens, I just turn straight to Satan and be like, I have a job offer because this dude sucks.
Right. Like,
No, for real. Like we should.
say,
But if I
say,
was like
Totally
the greatest
human.
person, if I was like a fantastic person, really paid it forward, and they're like, well, you didn't do this and this. I'd be like, and I'd walk right up to Satan and be like, so what's your dental plan here?
Satan, what kind of hand lotion do you have? And let me tell you, it's not for my hands. All right. Well, Jonathan, Jen, thank y'all so much for being here. Before I go, do you have any shout outs, promos, or philanthropic opportunities that my audience should know about?
Oh man, I should have come more prepared.
I gave you an hour ago.
What? I was working for a check, Jacob.
Mm.
I would say right now the first thing that comes to mind is what's happening in Texas.
Yes.
There's a lot of people are sharing a lot of links on Instagram. Just make sure that you check out that organization is actually fulfilling that need and not like pocketing it, because a lot of people try to benefit off of tragedies. But just donate what you can if you can. I know my check is coming soon, and I'm going to try to help in the way that I can for what's happening in Texas. And just know that a lot of those blackouts and that are on purpose and everything are in communities of color. So if you could help out our queer homeless youth as well, that would be fantastic. That's all I have to say.
All right, Jonathan, your turn.
Yeah, I probably should have prepared as well. I had more time.
Does
But
that mean we're selfish people?
I guess you said shout outs or anything like that.
Yeah, you can do a shout out too if you want. Yeah.
You know who I'm shouting out? I'm shouting out to you, listener. I'm doing it myself. If you ever want to, this may be the cheesiest thing to say, but if you ever want to follow your dreams, considering I want to be a writer someday, and I don't know. I want to be a writer someday, whatever. And it took me a little bit to kind of recognize it. And sometimes the people in your life are there to help you do it, but sometimes it's got to be you. So if you want to, it all starts with you. You have to be the one to take the first step, even if someone else helps you on the way.
We love it. We love it. Well, okay. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. But y'all, please have a lovely night. Thank y'all so much for being here, and much love to both of you.
Thank you for having us on.
Thank you for having us. It was a good experience.